Okay, just imagine a seasoned Premier League defender used to facing the best strikers in the world, standing rooted to the spot, completely lost, trying to understand what just happened. The ball already on the other side of the pitch. The striker celebrating with a mocking smile. The fans on their feet screaming in disbelief. This kind of football exists, you know. It's sometimes called Panna, sometimes African street football. But whatever you call it, the concept remains the same. Humiliating your opponent with pure, relentless technique. And contrary to what many people think, this flamboyant style isn't just for the streets. It has conquered England. It has conquered the Premier League. Thanks to one man, Yannick Bolasie. This guy literally terrorized English defenses for years. Experienced fullbacks found themselves on their knees in front of him. Coaches had to change their tactics mid-match. Goalkeepers abandoned their lines to try to contain him. Nothing worked. Bolasie would come in with his arsenal of feints, his improbable stepovers, his illogical stepovers, and the English defenders, those tough guys renowned throughout the world, simply had no answer. The fans chanted his name. The commentators lost their voices, and videos of his exploits went viral before the term even became popular. At his peak, some supporters were calling for him to be the first player in history to be awarded 6 stars for his technical skills in FIFA. 6 stars, can you imagine? During his glory days, he was the second most expensive African player of all time. His story, it's even more improbable than Jamie Vardy's. Here's the thing that no one really understands. Bolasie wasn't trained at a prestigious academy. At 16, he had never set foot in a serious training center. His dream? To become a rapper. Yes, you read that right. Football was almost a plan B. One day, lying on his sofa, he was watching Thierry Henry on television and thought to himself on a whim, well, maybe I could try that too. 4 months later, he was already giving up on his academy trial. Too boring, too structured, not enough freedom. So he went to play for a local team in the English 8th Division, where he was paid $20 per match and received a free burger for every goal he scored. 20 quid. Imagine a future $35 million player playing for the equivalent of a meal at McDonald's. Of course, even that didn't last. He gave up again, determined to become a carpenter for his girlfriend's father. Football? It was over. At least that's what he thought. But this is where the story gets fascinating. Bolasie was born in France, not Congo, but when his family moved to England when he was only 7 months old, his African cousins came with them, and those cousins were talented. 3 of them became professional footballers. One of them, Lamana Lua, who's shown at Newcastle. You can see the kind of genes that run in this family, can't you? Just as Bolasie was about to hang up his boots for good and pursue a career in carpentry, fate knocked on his door. A friend of one of his cousins was injured just after signing for Floriana, a Maltese club. The team was desperately looking for a temporary replacement. Bolasie's cousins, convinced that he had incredible potential, was Cress's work, called a few contacts, arranged a trial for him, and miraculously, he was accepted. Destination, Malta, alone, without a specific plan. What happened next was accidental genius. Alone in Malta, Bolasie was bored stiff between training sessions. He had always known how to edit videos, a skill he had picked up when he used to make rap videos for himself. So he started filming his matches, creating compilations of his best moments, and posted them on YouTube. Yes, YouTube. At a time when social media was just beginning to explode. One fine day, he sent these links to his cousin's agent, who circulated them in the industry. The result? An explosion. Clubs from all over Europe started calling him. Hoffenheim, Sturm Graz, Leicester, Plymouth Argyle. Everyone wanted this unknown kid who was doing crazy things on Maltese pitches. He finally chose Plymouth simply because he wanted to return home to England, and also because at the time, Plymouth was doing better than Leicester in terms of league position. Who could have predicted the future, right? Except that once he arrived in Plymouth, things didn't go as planned. The club didn't think he was ready for the championship. They wanted to loan him out. First try, Dagenham in the 4th division. They sent him back. The transfer window was closing, and no one seemed to want him. Finally, in an ironic twist worthy of a Hollywood script, he was loaned out for 6 months to Rushden and Diamonds, the amateur non-league club whose academy he had left a few years earlier. It was a humiliating step backwards. But Bolasie was not the type to give up. In the winter transfer window, he managed to secure a transfer to Barnet, and that's where everything changed. Not only did his performances improve, but he had the incredible luck that Tony Finnegan, a former Crystal Palace player turned agent, was in the stands watching one of his matches. After the match, Finnegan approached Bolasie's parents and made them a bold promise. "I can make your son a Premier League player in 3 years." A few months later, Bolasie returned to Plymouth, but the club was sinking. They were about to be relegated and go bankrupt. Fortunately, he had already made a name for himself, attracting the attention of Bristol City, who signed him for just $10,000. £10,000. An assistant manager publicly stated that it was incredible that a player of this caliber was available at such a price, that it was a unique opportunity. And he was right. 8 months after his arrival, in a decisive match against Coventry, with his team on the brink of elimination, Bolasie came on at the end of the game and scored the goal that almost saved the club. At the end of the season, he was voted Young Player of the Year. And all this took place under the watchful eye of Dougie Freedman, the legendary scout turned Crystal Palace manager. Just 1 year after being bought for the price of a used car, Bolasie was now worth £500,000, and his next challenge, to get Palace back into the Premier League. When he joined Crystal Palace, the club was in a disastrous situation, bottom of the league. 3 consecutive defeats to start the season. The fans were already preparing for the worst, as everyone knew that the team was entirely dependent on Wilfried Zaha. Opposing coaches systematically assigned 3 defenders to him, completely neutralizing him. But one of the first questions Freedman asked Bolasie was whether he thought he could be as good as Zaha. Bolasie's response, "I'll be better." By October, not only had Palace climbed out of the relegation zone, but with Bolasie and Zaha tearing through defenses in their wake, the club found itself in the top 4 on course for the promotion playoffs. As Bolasie himself put it, "My first season, nobody knew me. All the defenders were focused on Zaha, so I was always free to do special things." For the rest of the year, he gave his all. Nothing could stop him. Not even Freedman's controversial departure mid-season or his selection for the Congo national team. He kept saying that the only thing that mattered was getting Palace back to the top. When the playoff semifinals came around after 160 minutes of play and still no goals, it was Bolasie who created the magic needed to qualify for the final. But on the day of the final, incomprehensibly, he was not in the starting lineup. He had sacrificed everything for this moment. He had helped the club begin its revival. He was part of the team of the year. And yet, when they won, he was on the bench. But instead of complaining, criticizing, or making a fuss, he was there, smiling, celebrating arm in arm with Zaha. That was the kind of person he was. He brought not only raw talent, but also an impeccable mentality and work ethic. There was only one major problem. He didn't score. As Palace's assistant manager said, in every game, he would take on 3 or 4 players with ease, thanks to his exceptional technique. But when it came to shooting, he would strike the ball too hard, and it would fly well over the bar. Bolasie's lack of formal academic training was beginning to pose a problem. The following year, he played the entire season without scoring a single goal. For any other Premier League striker, this would have been disastrous, but for Bolasie, it didn't matter. That year, even with Zaha's departure to Manchester United, just as the club had reached the top flight, Bolasie completely took control of the team's creative play. He led them to one of their best seasons, not only avoiding relegation for the first time in the modern Premier League era, but also finishing just outside the top 10. Game after game, it became clear that no defender could stop him. At one point, Tony Pulis even said that Bolasie had humiliated Kyle Walker so badly that he forced Harry Redknapp to replace him and completely change tactics. But no game that season could rival the one that became legendary as Kristen Bull. Imagine the scene. It's the penultimate game of the season, and Liverpool need to beat Palace by as many goals as possible to have a chance of winning the title. With 12 minutes to go, they are leading by 3 goals, and then it starts. Damian Delaney scores the first goal, then Bolasie launches a devastating counterattack and provides an assist for Dwight Gale, who equalizes 2 minutes later. In the 12,000 matches played in the history of the Premier League, only 24 times has a team managed to come back from a 3-goal deficit. And in this particular case, as the New York Times wrote, Bolasie played an absolutely central role. Liverpool right back Glenn Johnson was humiliated by him on several occasions. So humiliated that after the match, the pundits criticized him so harshly that he ended up publicly breaking down on Twitter. That was the effect Bolasie had on defenders. He was on another level. They didn't even know how to react to him. As Alan Pardew said, other clubs would have tried to change Bolasie, but we recognized that he was a maverick and we trusted him. That's why he has improved so much in a few years. His uniqueness is what makes him special, and soon it will be obvious to everyone. The following year, even with Zaha's return from Manchester United, Palace only seemed to perform well when Bolasie was on form. After 10 games, they had won only 2, including one thanks to a decisive goal from Bolasie's. But in the next game, with Palace once again trailing Liverpool, Bolasie made a spectacular contribution. Not only did he set up Dwight Gale to score with a 30-yard shot that rebounded off the post, but he also performed a sombrero over Lovren before providing the assist for the second goal, allowing Palace to win 3-1 against one of the best teams in the country and escape the relegation zone. While casual Premier League fans began to wonder whether he had done it on purpose or if he had simply been lucky, a month later against Tottenham, with Soldado and Eriksen closing him down in the corner, he executed a one-touch roulette and flicked the ball over them, waved, causing total hysteria among the fans. Everyone watched the video on repeat, trying to figure out how he had pulled off the move. One of his teammates even told the press that he did even crazier things in training, that every day was like street football. But just as everyone was asking for more, Bolasie was selected for his first ever Africa Cup of Nations, and this time he wasn't going to turn it down. In the very first game, he scored the equalizer to snatch a draw, but in the 62nd minute of the quarterfinals, with his team losing to their rivals from the other Congo, turning the game around was all that mattered. Bolasie once again distinguished himself by contributing to the first goal and initiating the comeback that ultimately led to the DRC winning the bronze medal, their best result since winning the competition 47 years earlier. And guess what? When the tournament squad was announced, apart from their goalkeeper, Bolasie was the only Congolese player on the list. And if you thought things couldn't get any better, in his first game back in the Premier League, he came on as a substitute against Newcastle and contributed to the equalizing goal. Then he made 2 incredible assists against QPR. But nothing compares to what he did against Sunderland. After a goalless first half, Alan Pardew decided at halftime to try Bolasie in a more central role. 3 minutes later, he had already provided an assist for Glenn Murray. 2 minutes later, he scored his first goal with the finish worthy of a true center forward. In the next attack, he lobbed the keeper to score another goal. And just 11 minutes after his first goal, he completed his hat trick by dribbling past the keeper and then a defender before slotting into an empty net. As he ran to celebrate, the fans began chanting, "It's like watching Brazil." And one thing was certain, this was nothing like the usual Crystal Palace. None of their players had ever scored a hat trick in the Premier League, let alone one of the fastest in history. I can't even imagine what would have happened if Pardew hadn't substituted Bolasie so quickly after his third goal. But anyway, after ruining Steven Gerrard's last game at Anfield, beating Liverpool 3-1 once again, getting another assist, hitting the post, and even sweeping the ground with his hand before overtaking Dejan Lovren, the big club said to themselves, if we can't beat them, Let's join them. With Bolasie leading the dribbling charts alongside Hazard, Sanchez, Coutinho and Sterling, Tottenham and Liverpool joined the race to sign him, offering $20 million. But Pardew told the press that he would only sell him for 40 to 60 million pounds, knowing full well that at the time, this would have made him the most expensive player in English league history. In other words, he wanted to keep him at all costs. The following season, Pardew began to reposition Bolasie in this central role, and the results were astounding. Although Bolasie failed to score in the matches he played on the wing between October and New Year's Day, the 3 times he played in the center, he scored again against Liverpool, then scored twice against Newcastle and contributed to his team's only goal against Southampton. But just as everyone was beginning to believe that Bolasie had finally found his permanent position, he tore a calf muscle. During his 2-month absence, the team, which was just below the top 5, failed to win a single game. It was clear that Bolasie was the beating heart of this team. Once he returned, knowing that any hope of finishing in the top 7 was lost, he realized there was only one other way to make history: to lead the club into European competition for the first time in its existence. So he gave his all in the FA Cup. He won a penalty 4 minutes from the end of a goalless quarterfinal. Then he scored the first goal in the semi-final to lead Palace to the final, only the second time in their history. On the day of the match, everything seemed like a fairy tale. Growing up, Bolasie could see Wembley Stadium from his bedroom window. The date of the final coincided perfectly with his mother's birthday, who still lived in the same house a few streets away. But even though they pushed United into extra time, even though destiny seemed written, they ultimately lost. Nevertheless, transfer offers continued to pour in. Tottenham seemed particularly interested, but Bolasie was an Arsenal fan, so he wasn't really enthusiastic about that option. Then billionaire Farhad Moshiri bought Everton and gave Ronald Koeman a budget of $100 million, completely diverting the transfer by offering Palace a deal worth $35 million. Bolasie thus became not only the most expensive transfer in Everton's history and Palace's biggest sale, but also the second most expensive African player of all time, just $1 million behind Sadio Mane, who had just signed for Liverpool. All this less than 10 years after playing for $20 a game. When a journalist asked him about fans' concerns that he might be another disappointing signing after Schneiderlin, Klaassen, and Iwobi, he replied confidently, "I know I'm worth it." But reality proved cruel. Bolasie turned out to be one of the worst signings in Everton's history. At first, everything seemed perfect. Bolasie and Lukaku formed a harmonious duo. They even spoke the same Congolese dialect, so defenders couldn't even understand what they were saying to each other. Bolasie even achieved an unusual run of 5-goal contributions in just 7 starts. But then, in a duel with Anthony Martial, Bolasie not only ruptured his anterior cruciate ligament, but also his meniscus. His career had just taken a turn for the worse. Even after 11 months away, Bolasie felt like he was being rushed back onto the pitch. He claimed that Everton's medical staff had not looked after him properly, that even though he spent extra hours on the pitch every day for over a year, when his former physiotherapist at Crystal Palace examined him, he was shocked at how fragile his knee still was. With the arrival of Marco Silva and new record signing Richarlison, Bolasie was sidelined and he simply couldn't accept it. Even though Leicester were trying to sign him to replace Mahrez and Palace were trying to negotiate his return, he insisted on being loaned out, hoping to regain his place at Everton. He went on successive loan spells at Aston Villa, then Anderlecht, Sporting, and Middlesbrough. Towards the end, he even spent 6 months with the under-23 reserve team. Eventually, he had to leave the club. By that point, between his wages and transfer fees, he had cost around $1 million for every game he played. The situation seemed utterly hopeless. But now, 4 years later, after a spell in the Turkish second division and 2 months at Swansea, Bolasie has signed for Criciúma, then for Cruzeiro in Brazil. The man with spectacular technical skills has joined the country of beautiful football. And a few weeks after joining Criciúma, he led the club to a historic 4-0 victory over Vasco da Gama. He made 2 assists, attempted a bicycle kick, and did everything it took to make the fans chant once again. Are you sure you're not Brazilian? I sincerely believe that Bolasie has finally found his true home. After all these years, all these twists and turns, all this suffering and glory, he is where he should be. In Brazil, with the ball at his feet, doing what he does best, pure spectacle,